If you get this, if you really get it, it could save your career, it could save your relationships, it could save your marriage. Because here's the deal, experts have been feeding us a lie since high school, and I don't think they meant to, but they have been, and it is destroying us. How many times have you been told the stress or the overwhelm you feel is a result of poor work-life balance? I remember having my concerns about my own burnout and that of my team turned back on me, like it was a result of my own failure to have a good work-life balance. And I tried. Maybe you tried too. Maybe you tried to set boundaries with your pastor or your direct report. Maybe you tried to hold to a consistent schedule and you had it thrown on its head almost immediately by last second changes or by other people not getting you what you need in time or by new successful church ideas we have to implement right now because someone read it in a blog and it needs to be implemented right this minute without considering any of the context. I get you. I've got you. There is a better way. My name's Josh. I'm a cynic in recovery who started this YouTube channel to help technical artists like me overcome their burnout to become life-giving, life-changing leaders who bring the gospel into the biggest mission field in history. And I've been where you are. But this concept changed my life for the better, and it can change yours too. Now, for us, work-life balance is a contextual lie. Like, I think the people teaching it to us really did mean well. It's not like there's a conspiracy here. It's just a failure to understand the shift in modern industry. The idea of work-life balance, that perfect amount of time spent at the job every day, followed by just the right amount of time with your family or on your own self-care, and then a healthy night's sleep, it's all anchored to time. Your job needs to depend on your presence, not your output. In the Industrial Revolution of the last century, as we learned to let factories and mass manufacturing do the work while we just supervised or made tweaks in quality control, that was totally valid. In the precise assembly line style of that industrialized factory, process and workload don't change. They're static. They'll be the same today, tomorrow, and next week, and that's what makes them the perfect ingredients for balance. I mean, think about it. Have you ever tried to balance one thing on another thing? No matter what you were balancing or what you were balancing it on, the trick is always to keep it as still as physically possible. Still objects balance better than moving ones. In fact, the dictionary definition of balance requires stillness. But in our field, creative mission work like social media management, video creation, and live production, your work isn't anchored to your time. Needs pop up on short notice, and the things you are required to do can't just be turned into a checklist. You are the modern missionary. Your skills are how the church brings the kingdom of God into the digital mission field. We need your creativity. We need you to be able to shift gears quickly, to identify problems and solve them, not reference a manual. The manual for social media, video, live production, for all of our work, really, that stuff goes out of date like 3 months after it's issued. Updates are just too fast. It's your mind, your creativity, your passion. Those are what make you perfect for your role. And that's why work-life balance isn't just useless, it's damaging to people like us. So if we can't create balance because things are moving too much, what do? We create rhythm. Just like a pendulum swings back and forth, answer every heavy workload phase with a light workload phase. If we're disciplined enough in our rhythm, we can even start to anticipate high workloads and take some preemptive rest to get ready. Here's what this could look like in a practical sense. If you know that you're going to be putting in some 60 or 80-hour weeks in December because Christmas is approaching, take some 20-hour weeks or even a vacation in November. The week of Thanksgiving and the week directly following are great for this because everyone's focusing on their family anyway. Then, the week between Christmas and New Year's, after your high workload, your high intensity phase, don't do any work that's not a production day. That's rhythm. You're working the same amount of hours in the month, but you've moved them so that every furious sprint is answered with a chance to lean over, put your hands on your knees, and catch your breath. Here's another example for my social media folks. Imagine Facebook or Twitter push a huge change to the platform, and you learn about it early because you're passionate about your work. You have a chance to be an early adopter, but it represents a total shift in strategy for you. Go back to work that evening. Pull your laptop out, stay up till 2 a.m. Maybe you take the whole week to redesign entire aspects of your communication strategy or build a new website or new graphics or something like that. But if you do that, take a day or two off afterwards. Creative work like ours is best done in sprints with rests between, not marathons. And this helps on every level. It helps our friends or our spouses understand that they matter and they're a priority to us. It shows our teammates and our coworkers and our leaders that they matter to us and that we want to make time to do the incredibly difficult things because we make time to do the incredibly difficult things for them. We put in however much work it takes to get stuff done. And it helps us prioritize ourselves because we're setting healthy boundaries without making them rigid boundaries that get in the way of us actually doing ministry. We don't have to say no to ministry tasks anymore, ever. We just might need to say, not yet. I need to rest and recover from the last sprint before I begin the next one. Our workloads are constantly changing. Disciplining ourselves to create rhythm in our lives instead of balance is the key to having healthy boundaries that are nimble enough to stay out of the way of our purpose. And if your leadership is a hard sell, point out that this is how Jesus lived too. The Gospels are full of work-life rhythm exemplified by Jesus and his disciples. In Matthew chapter 14, verse 13, Jesus retreats to a quiet place to grieve the death of John the Baptist. But when he arrives, a crowd has followed him with present needs. He chooses to work the overtime to do the ministry, teaching and healing their sick. But at the end of it, he spends the whole night alone on the mountain instead of having dinner with his disciples, and he doesn't return until the next morning. When Jesus knew that his time on earth was close to ending, he went into the mountain to rest and pray. He recognized a high-intensity time on the horizon, and he knew that to be ready for it, he needed to rest first. Heck, in Genesis, God the Father does the important and meaningful work of creating everything for 6 days. Then he takes a day to rest. But it can still be nerve-wracking saying, I'm not coming into work this week to your leadership. I get that too. I've got some tips for those hard conversations right here.